right, so we're gonna start, 6 o'clock. First order would be to approve the minutes of last meeting. Did everyone get a chance to look at those?
I thought they looked great. They were
All right.
lengthy. It's like 7 pages.
No, it's a seven.
And it was 6 or 7 pages.
6.5.
Anyone just walking in, if you could sign in,
Actually read them.
please. Thank you.
I said no qualms with them.
No, that's a good job.
Yeah, motion to accept them. Let's do it.
All right.
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. So nothing on the consent agenda. We can move right on to the open forum. Is John here yet?
Troy.
Oh, there we go. How are you? Yes. Yeah, look familiar.
100%. Is there any place you want me to go, or for the
You look great.
No, I mean,
That's great.
yeah, right there's fine.
Okay,
It
well,
kind of lends to the room, so.
okay, well, I'm not quite sure your format is, but I'm John Shorey. I live at 153 Golden Road in Harwichport, and I'm here for just a brief statement, and because I know you got a big agenda, a much more meatier object of discussion than cormorants. That's what I'm here for, the cormorants at Saquatucket. I've used that marina now probably close to 25 years, either mostly on a slip. I'm waiting for a slip there. I mean, waiting on but I've had a slip there now for probably about 8 years now. And this is the first year that I've seen the cormorants as bad as they've been down there. And bad, what I mean, I'll leave some photos. You can all take a look at them if you haven't known. So I've talked to a couple people here. They've seen what the cormorants have done. If you happen to have a boat next to a sailboat, on either side of that sailboat, you're going to get hit by a lot of cormorants defecating on your boats, depending on which way the wind's blowing. And like I say, it's the first time I've seen these cormorants this bad down in Saquatucket. And not only here, but I'm a captain over at Chatham Bar Inn on the sailboat over there, a 28-foot sailboat. And I've seen tens of thousands of cormorants over there. And I don't know what's causing the sudden increase in population, but there are a lot of cormorants on the boats, on sailboats in Saquatucket. I just want to raise the issue because I'd like to get it back on the agenda for a formal, in-depth discussion. I've got some suggestions on how we can remedy it. I have, like I say, the sailboat over at Chatham Bar Inn. I have prevention stuff on that boat, and I haven't had any problem with cormorants all summer long. Not 1 or 2 droppings on the whole boat. Very expensive solutions, and it's just a real mess down there. And some of the boats that have, sailboats that do have some prevention, you can actually see that it's actually working. So that's all I have to say, but I would like to get into a discussion. If you want to assign maybe 1 or 2 people to work with me on this, I'm happy to provide the information to see if we can get something in writing to maybe to the sailboat owners before the season starts. You know, they get their boats out of the water now, their masts will be on the ground, and there's some simple things that you can attach to the mast that would help alleviate the problem. Not to guarantee it's going to stop the problem, but it will definitely alleviate the problem. You'll see in my photos, I came back from being away for about 2 weeks. Boat was covered. Cleaned it over 2.5 hours with bleach and disinfectant because I'm concerned it might be a health hazard if someone's on those boats and does get something with the feces from the boats, from the birds, and then 3 days later, you can see the photos of what happened 3 days later. Almost not as bad, but equally as disgusting. And again, it took another 1.5 hours to clean. So that's it. That's what I have to say, and appreciate the time. I realize that it's what you can do. At one time, they did put all the sailboats together in one area of the docks down there, but I understand with the raking of the masts and stuff, it wasn't a good solution. So, not suggesting that, but, you know, I'd like to look at other ideas and stuff. That's it.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the best thing would be just to be in contact with John and we can, start maybe looking at options or suggestions. But yeah, if you want to leave the photos with us, that'd be great.
Yeah, and I'm happy to, I did send them to yourself and John.
Yeah.
about 'em,
Okay.
and boat owners, like, Rich here, he's seen,
Yeah.
fortunately, he's not near a sailboat.
All right, we'll
I don't know
disperse
about
these
Sandy,
and
I don't know if you're near a sailboat, you're not.
No,
Gotta be honest.
They don't want us
But
Yeah.
there's
Seen
one
it all,
boat
it's
down here,
terrible.
Flying Fish, that has spikes, that seems to be the best term on the top of the mast, I have pictures there. About 3 or 4 inches, spikes on the top of the mast. That's what
Right.
happens. These cormorants sit right at the top of the mast. It's the perfect platform,
Yeah.
and cormorants are messy birds. So, thank you.
All right, you got it. Thank you. All right, so we're gonna move on to new business, would be the memorial bench for Mr.
You wanna
Clancy.
do the financial?
Yes, sorry.
Yep.
Sorry about that. Yes, financial report.
Okay, you guys should have seen it in the packet. Had a good month comparatively. Again, a lot of this is timing, but visitor dockage was up and that certainly helped our numbers. We're still not year-to-date where we were last year at the end of September, but we're getting closer. So, yeah, I mean, there's no concerns from my point of view on the numbers, but if you have any questions, please ask.
Anyone have any questions on the financial report? All good? All right, now we can get to the memorial bench for Mr. Clancy.
So if I may,
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Chairman, Mr. Clancy, John Fred Clancy Jr., the son, and Kathleen, the daughter of Fred Clancy, who most of us know. They couldn't be present tonight, but you have their letter included in the packet. And just, I'll speak just kind of briefly on Fred Clancy. He was a longtime member of the Waterways Committee. A lot of you know him, I think, and he also was a charter boat captain that operated out of Allen Harbor for, gosh, I think close to 30 years, a long time. Well known throughout the waterfront, big supporter of our Harwich Waterways and what we do here in town. And he passed away, I don't know, probably a year ago, maybe a little more, but his son, Fred Clancy Jr., approached me a few weeks back, wanting to see about putting a memorial bench at Saquatucket in honor of his dad and in recognition of all that he did for the town and his support of our waterways. So as you know, at Saquatucket, we have an area right along the bulkhead, essentially in front of Brax, where we have a couple memorial benches for folks who, in very similar ways, was a big presence at our waterways. And so I fully support, providing them the opportunity to put a memorial bench there. It requires Board of Selectmen approval or Select Board approval, but first it needs to come to the Waterways for your consideration and your recommendation before it goes forward. The memorial bench would be very similar to what is currently there, kind of a granite style bench that fits well within what we have there. So it's my recommendation that we support Mr. Clancy's request for a memorial bench for their dad. So if you have any questions, I can try to answer them.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone from the committee have any questions? I'd like to make a motion to,
Is this, who's it get installed by?
Say again.
Who's it get installed by?
It depends on, they'll probably have it made the same local place there, Crosby, who did, and they'll come in and install it. It'll be professionally installed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
anyone else? You wanna make a motion to accept?
I'll make a motion to accept.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I,
Super, thank you. And I know the family would appreciate the support, and I'll get it on the next select board's agenda.
And then, next new business would be the Captain Kidd requesting a larger vessel, moving out.
So, Mr. Chairman, we have the owners present. Jill Schutte is here with her daughter, who is a captain, a boat captain who runs charters out of Saquatucket, and also Carl Schutte is online. He's away, but he's online, and I.
Hi, guys.
So
Hello.
whoever's available to speak, however you guys want to do it.
Yeah, who wants to go first?
I guess I'll go first. I think everybody's seen the proposal. What we're looking for is to purchase a 65-foot vessel, approximately 20 feet wide. We ended up selling the Captain Kidd. I didn't realize it was going to sell quite as quick as it did. I actually was looking to buy a vessel, and I contacted a person, and he didn't have the boat that I wanted. He had already sold his boat and was interested in my boat, and had seen it when he came up to look at Clem Casurgis's boat a few years ago, and the deal actually happened in like 2 weeks, so I was kind of caught off guard. But we are in the process. We thought we did have a vessel, but the sale fell through. It wasn't quite the right vessel. I'm looking for a long-term vessel, something that we're going to be able to continue the operation. My daughters are going to be able to hopefully continue after Jill and I are done. What the biggest problem with the old Captain Kidd is, and as everybody knows, the sea conditions of Nantucket Sound are a little bit different than any place in the world. And believe me, I've been all over the world, and the seas are so close together in Nantucket Sound, and with the prevailing southwest wind, that those seas build up really quickly in the afternoon. So we're looking for a bigger vessel, a more stable platform. We're not going to be able to combat all the weather, but as of last year, which is a pretty common occurrence in the 17 years we've been operating, we canceled 57 trips last year out of a possible 280. So that was 20% of our trips got canceled due to weather, and very, very few of them were due to rain days. They were all due to the prevailing southwest winds. We're not going to be able to mitigate it completely, but 20% is a lot of trips to be canceling. And our biggest problem is being, everybody knows what the tourist pattern is on Cape Cod. Everybody comes on Saturday, they figure out what they want to do on Sunday, and then they book for the entire week, Monday through Friday. And right now, when we cancel, we're normally sold out during the week, but when we cancel, our biggest problem is that we have no place to put anybody on those days we cancel. So we have multiple customers that have been trying to get on our boat for years, and they say, well, you cancel, but you never have any availability to put us on later in the day, and they only have until the following Saturday to get on the boat. So it makes it kind of difficult. We're hoping to mitigate a lot of that weather factor, but when we can't mitigate it, at least with the 60 passenger capacity, we will have room to put them on other trips. And that's basically what we're doing. And we want a more comfortable experience for the kids and for their parents that travel with us. A 65-foot boat will give everybody a little bit more room. And you know, the old Captain Kidd definitely rolled a lot and pitched a lot, and when it sat on the anchor, it was just, you know, a nightmare for comfort. Um, I've spoken to a majority of the other Class D permit holders, Jack, Peter. I haven't spoken to Lenny yet. I think John spoke to him just to tell him what we were thinking of doing. They're all in support of it. The way everybody kind of looks at it is none of the 4 vessels are in direct competition with each other. We're any more exposure down the harbor is good for not only the other 4 passenger vessels, but the 6-pack boats in the harbor and Harwich Port in general. So hopefully, you know, we'll find a good vessel. If we can increase the passenger count to 60 people, it would go a long way with not only helping our business, but helping our customers. Jack and I have been working together now that I'm in the old Yankee slip. You know, we've been working together even before I was in the Yankee slip, but we've worked together on possible schedule changes. I'm not planning on changing our schedule, but if it has to be changed for some reason to accommodate any of the other vessels or, you know, we work directly with Jack, so he doesn't see it being an issue. I don't see it being an issue. And I've spoken to John, if there's, you know, any concerns unforeseen concerns that we see as we get going here, you know, we will accommodate the harbor in any way we need to. That's basically it. The footprint of the slip will easily accommodate a 65-foot, 20-foot vessel with room to spare. We won't stick out any further than the Freedom does now, probably a little bit less. And the width of the slip will still have 2 feet on either side of the vessel, so that shouldn't be an issue either. John, do you have any questions, or anybody have any questions?
Yeah, it is. Anyone? You all good? All right. So I wanted to hand it to John, the harbor master, and make sure, you know, he's in support of it.
Okay, thanks. So let me just start by saying, for those of you, many of you in this room are aware of Captain Kidd and the operation they run. I'll just say, you know, since I've been here, I know they've been operating a lot longer than I have been here, but since I've been here, you know, they run a great business. I mean, it's just a real neat business model. I love that they cater to the kids. They're professional. They do it right, and I appreciate that. And I think, you know, I often get just great feedback from folks who come back off of a trip, and they just think the world of the experience. So I will say 65 feet. That is our max, and I've had discussions with Carl. You know, we have a defined no greater than 65 foot allowed in the harbor at the marina, and so Carl knows he has to maintain that he can't get any larger than 65 feet. You know, increasing from 43 to 60 passengers, what does that mean? More people, a few more cars. But again, I think if we do it right, or they do it right, as far as looking at schedules, when they're coming, when they're going, and try to maybe tweak it so we're offsetting with some of the others, I don't think it's a huge lift, and I don't think it'll be a significant impact on our facility. Yeah, we have a handful of days where our parking is at its limit, but it's only a handful of days. And, you know, the increase, I think somewhere in this letter, I think Carl estimated it was an extra
5, I think you said 5.
five parking spaces, 4 parking spaces. You know, it doesn't sound like a lot, but it's an impact. But I don't think it's such that it is concern to me. As the person who has to manage the facility, I know that they'll continue to run the same business that they're running now. And I think it's a real benefit. You can see the credentials that, you know, Carl, and it's going down to his daughter and his family. You know, they're Mariners and they've been doing it professionally and they run a great show. So I support, and I will go forward to the Board of Selectmen supporting the request. Obviously, they're here before you because they'd like to have your recommendation as a board as well. So that's where I'm at.
All right, fantastic. Any questions? Anyone have any questions or concerns? I mean, it won't, like the turning of it won't affect them, you know, it's
No, I mean, I think the slip that they're in is one of the largest slips we have, right next to the ferry. You know, Clem Casurgis on the Yankee, they were 60 feet, I think. I think there's enough room in there, you know, to be able to, I don't know if they're planning to go bow in or back in, but either way, the ferry twists in that area just fine, and I know these guys will do the same, so I'm not concerned with it.
okay.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
And the question of parking, because I don't know if that's our jurisdiction, people worry about anyway, but, is there any space down there anymore for future increase of parking? That was already kinda laid out years ago? I
No.
think that between the cracks and the health.
Just 6 years ago, we added 90 spaces, you want more?
Yes.
Just 3 or 4.
I'm kidding. You know, it's a great question, and I think the Board of Selectmen, that's one of the things they look at, is the facility and the impact on the facility and parking. And, you know, fortunately, back in 2018, when we redid the marina, we were able to capitalize on purchasing the old Downey property and utilizing that for parking, so that really increased our capacity. You know, I know the ferry does a real good job putting their overnight parking customers across the street over at their facility for off-site parking. You know, can the Board of Selectmen entertain requiring off-site parking? They certainly can, but for this small amount of increase, I don't think it's necessary. But we don't have any other town parking where we're at.
Like I said, I don't even know if it's our jurisdiction, so.
Well, it's a concern. I mean, you always,
Sure.
when you're putting more load on the facility, it's always a concern. Any other questions?
I just have just one more comment, John, just for everybody's information, and not that this pertains to this directly, but both my daughters are involved in the business. Sarah's at Mass Maritime at this time. Like you said, she is running a charter boat out of Saquotucket Harbor, and hopefully will be moved up to the bigger boat on a learning basis this year, and then down the road. Lauren works in the ticket booth, and she does a fantastic job. Both my daughters are on the D passenger waiting list. So this isn't something, when Jill and I are done, we're gonna close up shop. This hopefully Sarah and Lauren will take it over, run it the same way Jill and I have been running it, and they've been involved, both girls have been involved on the boat since Sarah can remember, and Lauren was in a stroller when Jill was selling tickets on the dock, basically. So this is something that's gonna continue on for, years to come, so it's not only good for us, I hope it's good for Saquatucket and for Harwichport in general. So I just wanted everybody to know that's why I'm looking for a boat that's gonna last for years to come, not just something temporary. And it will be under 65 feet, but it will be the right vessel for the future.
Thank you. Anything else? Anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept, new boat 65 feet vessel or under. Or is it, would it have to be with the passenger increase? I think that's what they're asking for, correct? Or both?
Yeah, or to accept as proposed.
Yeah. I think you're right.
As a grandfather who's had the pleasure of riding on Captain Kidd and having enjoyed the time and the professionalism, I second that motion.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very
All
much,
set.
everyone.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it. I'm sorry I couldn't be there. I'm working in Brazil this month, but I will be home for the selectmen meeting. Just let me know when that's scheduled.
You got it. Thank
Good
you.
luck finding a boat. At least I'm going to Florida to get it.
You can. All right, moving on to
Thank you.
Lebanon Bend Road. New revised proposal, replacement dredging and installing floats. Yes, sir.
Crispin with the BSC group, the applicants are here as well, and Hannah is the lady with the red sweater on there, who is gonna throw a 9-slide PowerPoint, which will summarize that set of plans you have for you. I think you've seen this first slide before. We all know where the site is, correct? It's that little cove on Herring River. Next slide here.
Well, I think this is gonna be helpful.
There we go. We included this information very early when we started this several months ago. I want to bring us back to what we're proposing. This is a 6-foot wide float that's right on Herring River up the Riverville Ways with the shellfish nets underneath it. So we're not looking at something unusual, we're not looking at something different. That's what we're looking for. Very, very simple. There we go. So the left side of this image is the plans that we had before. The bottom circles are the eliminated floats that were of concern that went into the channel. There were some 3-foot floats, there was a 6-foot float back there. That's the bottom left-hand corner with the red circles. The right side is the current plan that's in front of you tonight. And you'll see all of the floats to the bottom are gone. All the 3-foot floats, one of the 6-foot floats, and we've got the extra floats up in the cove, which I think this commission pretty much said they didn't have any real concerns with. So it made the project viable for the applicant to proceed. So that's what we're looking at. There's 9 floats there. The red line on this close-up of this is the current bulkhead. So you start seeing on the left side of that a lot of this landward bulkhead.
That red line is the proposed bulkhead,
No,
correct?
that's existing bulkhead.
That's existing.
We want to demonstrate to you folks that we're pretty much inland.
Yes.
And the Lord works in mysterious ways. When we started this, we had a survey from 2 years ago. We went out and resurveyed it, and that salt marsh, which is the controlling factor, thou shalt not touch the salt marsh, allowed us to take that bulkhead and move it landward, which lets everything open the channel up. So this slide here has the yellow area, which is behind the bulkhead. The orangey area is the proposed floats that's seaward of the bulkhead or in the cove at the top half. And the blue areas are the existing floats that are gonna be removed. So next slide, Hannah. A little hard to see from here, isn't it?
Yeah, it has been hard to see.
This is kind of telling us the same thing, but it is saying that the orange slide floats are being removed. And I think this one, I know what this one is. On the red line, there is a red line that goes right through the orange float. That's where we started at a couple months ago when we were first here. The blue line, or green line, is the face of the float. So you can see it's all moved back into the land side quite a bit. Next slide, please, Hannah.
So the orange floats are the floats that you currently have permitted.
Right, those are
For your
existing.
facility, those are existing.
Those are the existing ones. Now, this slide's an interesting one, because it's the same slide, but the yellow triangle underneath the orange squares is a 75 feet of float that will be in the channel in front of the existing bulkhead. The red area is what's being opened up. We're pulling that bulkhead back, so you're gonna gain 215 square feet of channel area there, with a loss of 75 feet, which is a net, doing mental math, 165 feet of open channel that wasn't there before. It doesn't narrow, it doesn't widen it widens the channel a little bit from the existing pinch points, so-called. That's the bottom line, is that just pulling that back widens that channel and opens it up, particularly on the southern end. Next slide, Hannah, which I think is just a summary, which I'll read from here because I can't read that from here. But very simply, we remove the existing bulkhead. We replace it with a new bulkhead, which is now 6 feet shorter, or 8 feet shorter than the original plans, and shifted landward with the revised top of the bulkhead at 6.5. You may remember we had it up higher than that in the original plans. 6.5 is the same elevation as the bulkhead on the north side of the cove. So just so you can get a vision on that, it's gonna put all of those Tucker bulkheads at the same elevation all the way across there, because that was a concern. We are gonna dredge under the floats to -6, which allows the scallop farm to happen. We're gonna put the wood piles in. With the reduced number of floats, we're down to 12 piles as opposed to 22 on the original plan. We have 621 square feet of floats, and these will be year-round, as we've discussed. And as mitigation, the channel is actually wider and has more area. There's no salt marshes alteration. We're gonna put back 510 square feet of salt marsh behind the new bulkhead. Scallop seeding will be donated around the town. The scallops have a proven case of denitrification of the water, which is a major plus in the area. And we're gonna add 230 square feet of open channel, that red and yellow triangle that we showed earlier. We go to the next one. These floats, they don't encroach into the wreckage channel, and they're at least 16 feet away from the wreckage channel. The whole system is moved 6 feet landward of the existing bulkhead and widens, again, the area available for navigable water. The dredging with the reconfiguration of the floats is a little bigger because we're going into the cove, about 250 cubic yards. Much of this will be put behind the current bulkhead. This will act to prevent the erosion of the bulkhead, of the salt marsh, the new bulkhead, not damage it, but protect it. And much of the dredged area can go behind the bulkhead. We have about 1,900 square feet of land under the ocean that's get altered, primarily due to the dredging. There's about 800 square feet of land behind the existing bulkhead and the new bulkhead, which is intertidal. This is kind of a question as to what is it? It's not land under the ocean, it's the wrong elevation, but there's clearly something there. Right now it's bare sand, there's no shellfish in it. So there's about 800 square feet of that, and we're gonna put back about 510 square feet of salt marsh. So that's what those plans are telling you in a nutshell. We think we've responded to your questions, your comments, your concerns. We're kind of hoping we can get a decision tonight so we can move forward with conservation, so we can get the rest of the permits, Army Corps, Chapter 91 people on board as well. That's it.
Okay, thank you. So this is pretty much came all about because the marsh got washed away behind the bulkhead,
That was
essentially?
the net result, yeah, the Lord works in mysterious ways. It lets them get something they can work with and hopefully get something that you can work with. Because we never could have done it if the salt marsh hadn't eroded over the last 2 years.
All right. Well, at this moment, I'll hand it over to John, although this, so
I,
hear his comments.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I think I had today, this afternoon, I was forwarded some concerns from Elizabeth Pye
That was,
regarding this plan, so maybe I would suggest we hear those first to make sure that
sure,
it's answers to them if that works for you.
Yeah, I'll ask my question.
absolutely. Yep, so we'll hand it over to Elizabeth.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. My name is Elizabeth Pyle. I'm an attorney at Hill Law, and I represent abutters and neighbors to this project. I sent an email earlier today to the harbor master with some of our concerns, and let's see. The first thing that we are concerned about is the width of the channel in this area. So I heard the explanation just now, but it looks like from your letter that you're saying, from BSC's letter, that BSC is saying that the channel will be wider. And I would like to note that where the floats start, the channel will be narrower by about 3 feet. So the floats, the southernmost portion of the floats along the existing bulkhead, that does narrow the channel width at that location by about 3 feet, because those floats are shown more seaward of the existing bulkhead. And that is really a pinch point. And the graphic that I sent earlier today shows that when the boats swing so that they're perpendicular to the channel, that there's a lot of congestion right in that area. So we still feel that the width of the floats along the bulkhead is putting too much pressure on navigation in that area, and we oppose the floats in that location. The second thing that I wanted to mention was that on the plans, I'm concerned about the connection between the piles and the floats and the bulkhead. And if you look at the new plans, they're all very jammed in on each other with really no separation between them. Whereas if you look in the north area where the cove is, there's a lot of separation between the piles and the connections, and also the floats. So I'd like some clarification, and maybe you can ask the applicant why the piles are on top of the bulkhead on the southern portion where they're showing the floats, but there's a lot more separation at the top, because it looks like people being squeezed in that area, and that might not be a realistic connection. So we want to make sure that all area is accounted for on their plans. And it looks like there's 2 different kinds of connections. And so we'd like some clarity on that. And then I guess that our final concern is that this is still a commercialization of the river, which has really been a public recreational resource. And I know you have very strict controls about what kind of floats are allowed for recreational use. And we would ask that any floats approved here be within those same dimensional requirements and the same dimensional parameters as everybody else is subject to. And we don't feel like a variance is appropriate for this commercial operation, which really privatizes part of the river. And and it really would set a precedent. Anybody could do this anywhere if, in the river, if this is allowed to proceed. So, we ask that the navigation interest be protected, that the recreational use interest be protected, and that, you deny this proposal tonight. So I'm happy to answer any questions, but we've submitted a number of letters already. Our letters set forth our concerns about the impacts to boating and swimmers and kayakers, and we just continue to feel like this is too much, even though there has been an adjustment in boundaries. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Kessler, you want to speak about the pylons and the
I would
connections?
love to respond.
Please.
As far as the width of the channel, yes, those southernmost ones stick into the existing waterway about 2 or 3 feet, as she said. The pinch point is not here. It's 70 feet wide down towards the beach. So we're about 110 feet wide at this pinch point with the water body. So it's, I hear the navigation concerns. I don't think we'd run 65-foot boats through here like you were talking about a few minutes ago. I hear the concern, and that's what we've been trying to address. Why are the piles in a different location? Steel sheet piling is kind of an extra. In order to gain that extra foot, we put the piles in that pocket, so to say. It gained us about an extra foot. Up in the cove, we didn't need to do that. So those piles are out straight and little simpler installation. But there's only like six of them along there to put those floats in. So it's not a big deal, and I know they can drive them right down beside the pile, beside the sheet pile, in that little, I'll call it a pocket, if you wanna call it a pocket. Sheet pile are S-shaped. You know what they look like. As far as the commercialization of the river, I can only comment that this is a permitted use by right. And I believe you can only have a commercial aquaculture business. So this is not gonna be the 60-foot scallop boat that some of the prior letters had talked about. This is gonna be a small craft that comes in a few times in the spring, monitors it through the summer, and harvests it in the fall. And monitors it again through the winter, because they will grow year round. I think there's a lot of fears in the neighborhood about what's going on, and that's why I showed you that picture of the slide in the beginning of what this thing looks like. It looks like a small float. There's floats out in the channel now that probably provide more of a hazard to navigation because they're in the channel. These are going to be up against the bulkhead, against the side. They're not in.
Well, the original plans were more of a hazard. I mean, the original, so you've tailored it back, so.
It's tailored back, but I mean, even then, these floats were against a vertical bulkhead. Most people will not take a craft that close to a structure unless they had to, absolutely had to. I think the more general practice is, stay out in the water's wider.
Right.
So those are our responses to those.
Okay, just a question for you, John, do they need a variance for this?
They will.
They will, for,
The square footage of floats.
okay.
Can I ask a question? Is that under the wetlands regulation or under the waterways regulation?
Wetlands.
Say again?
Wetlands,
It's under the wetlands, so.
the bylaw, so it'll be the commission.
We got that in front of the commission, but we've got to deal with that, I understand.
Yeah, I'm just making a clarity, that's what I'm doing. Yeah, hang on, yes, sir.
Are there any floats in the river now? Freestanding floats, just,
Well, there's a lot of
There's one
floats.
right in front of the property.
There's a lot of floats in front of people's properties that have docks. Those floats
okay.
are supported by piles. The float you're talking about, there's one float that has been there for years and it's grandfathered. We don't allow any more of them that is actually a mooring. It's connected on both ends with 2 moorings. It was my understanding, I wasn't here, they were contemplating utilizing floats for people who had mooring permits instead of a single mooring with the chain like we do now. They were contemplating utilizing floats, so they allowed one as a trial. It didn't go anywhere, but the person has been grandfathered, so that's the one you're speaking to. Yeah.
John, with that being there, what would be the problem with adding to that? In other words, could I float or scallop dock somewhere?
Well, that's what that was my next question. Is I mean, I think this question keeps rising that anyone along the Herring River can throw this in.
And by the way,
That's not true.
Is the cove in front of Jeff's property, is that public water or is that?
It's all public water.
Public water. So you're allowing then floats on public water, why wouldn't you then allow me to float a dock in the middle of the river with scallops underneath? What would be the difference?
A couple things.
Yes, please.
You ready for me
Answer.
to-
Yeah.
to
Please
speak
answer
to-
the question. Yes.
Okay, so I'll get to your question.
Thank you.
Let me just say, my feedback tonight, as I've said in previous meetings, I'm looking at navigational safety. And
John, I appreciate that.
let me finish.
Yeah.
Let me
Hold
finish.
on. Hang on.
Let me finish.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I am looking at navigational safety of the waterway, the public waterway. And I've been very consistent, day one, on what I think needs to happen in this plan in order to not interfere with the safety of navigation. And this applicant has done that. If you compare where we are now to where we were when they first came in, they have reduced a number of floats. They've moved the bulkhead in. You have an area to the furthest south that's 3 feet out into the waterway with the elimination of their 2 permitted floats that were sticking out even further. So from a navigational safety perspective, they're complying with what I said from the north tip of that bulkhead, 30 feet down. That's where the room is. And they have moved that bulkhead even further in to where minimal amount of float is sticking into the current waterway that we have now. As a matter of fact, I believe there's going to be more room. So whether this is a good idea from a standpoint of an aquaculture commercial entity, I'm not answering that question. I'm looking at navigational safety. This is going to have to go in front of the Conservation Commission. It's going to have to go in front of the Select Board, and they're going to determine whether this is something they want in the waterway. Every applicant that comes here, they're applying for a permit to utilize public waterway. If you have a waterfront home and you want to dock in front of your house, they're taking a piece of public waterway to utilize for their purposes through a permit process. And this is going to have to go through a permit process. So if you, Mr. Curtin, think you want to come out and put a float in Herring River to run an aquaculture project, you're going to have to go through the steps to get a permit. All right? You would have the ability to do that. Whether it's approved or not, I don't know. But I'm going to look at navigational safety just the way I am for this applicant, I would do for you. So, I think this type of operation, do we want it in Harwich? I don't know. I think that's something that will be answered down the line. The variance, it's gonna have to be granted for the amount of square footage that's being proposed here. All right? We are not the regulatory board here for that variance. That will go in front of the Conservation Commission. So there's a number of steps that has to happen. This is just the first.
I'm going to put my first question aside.
Okay.
I'm going to go to my second question about the cove. You're eliminating my ability to navigate in the cove.
I am not.
You certainly are.
I don't think
That
so.
cove is not open water any longer.
I don't
There's
think so.
docks
There's
in there.
plenty of room. I was there
There's docks
when
in
they
there.
marked this. There's plenty of room to come and go in there.
In the
cove.
The docks in the cove?
The docks are right up against the bulkhead and they stick
they're
out
not.
12 feet out. So there's plenty of room for you to turn around, do whatever you need to do in that cove, if you have water, because it gets shallow up in there.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
I would like to comment, if I may, on the public issue of the cove. that land is registered land. There is a certificate of title for the land of the cove.
Yep.
There's a 1930 Chapter 91 license that allowed that to be dredged. So I would contend with the Massachusetts Land Court certificate of title that that is private land under that cove. Whether it has public water rights to travel in and out of, I don't know. I've never seen a no trespassing sign in the water.
But putting the docks in there, you're putting in no trespassing.
Don't know.
You don't know?
No, hold on. We're not gonna go back and forth. This isn't,
I believe it's really not public water. He would have the ability to fill that back in under the Chapter 91 regs if he wanted to.
We'll have to explore
that's
that.
what
I
anybody
don't think
wants,
that's the
but I
case,
think-
but, okay, yeah.
Can I ask two questions? With this setup, how many pieces can you harvest?
It gets us right at about 100,000 adult animal growing
And
capacity.
you started where? When we started 5 months ago?
About 115, so it took about a 10% cut in our capacity of
Cool.
columns.
And then in the section proposed on the plan with the setup for the piling and the connection, is that, I can't scale it on the computer, but if I were to scale that, is that what's depicted in the plan view?
Yeah, those are the floats.
Yep.
Right, but the section with the connections and all that.
It's not an exact scale drawing, but it's schematically to scale, yeah.
Okay.
The piles are there, there's a steel pipe and the floats are hooked right onto that, like the first picture I showed you.
Yeah, so the plan is accurate with
I
the
would say,
connections and the.
You can build from it,
distance.
and there's enough information to build from it on.
Okay.
yes, sir.
Two things. First of all, I want to repeat something that we had a couple of sessions ago. This committee only deals with waterway and nothing else. We don't deal with traffic or anything. We just deal with water and navigability of that waterway. And for us to act or approve anything else would be beyond the scope of our group.
Absolutely.
Secondly, if we're able to move some of the docks into the cove, can we move all of the docks into the cove?
Jesus Christ.
I'm asking a question without your comments, thank you. Go ahead.
I mean, we need a plan.
Yeah, you're the proposers.
Yeah, and I think that's Mr. Caspian.
Could it be engineered? Yes. Will it be expensive? More so than this part, because we've gotta dredge all that muck out of there. And that's not stuff you put on the beach, that's stuff that goes out to the fouling area somewhere.
Okay.
So,
all of, if that happened, would it cause the cove to be unnavigable for other reasons, for other purposes?
I'm sorry, Jay, I'm not understanding your,
Well,
so if you add additional,
If we remove these.
yeah,
And
I don't
put
think
them
it's necessary. I don't think
Okay.
that those current 3 floats along the bulkhead pose a navigational safety.
Okay,
I honestly don't.
okay, then
That's
I'll
my
go with
sense.
that. I'll go with that. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Can I see the slide one more time that shows both the new floats and the existing floats?
Yeah, I think that's on the first, yeah, there you
Yes.
go.
it was slide 3, Hannah.
Yep, we got it.
I'm just looking at that. I think the overall reduction in the channel, based on what's there, I don't see any issues in that part of the river. Maybe if it was down a couple hundred feet closer to the.
Yeah, and that's what they did, they backed everything up.
Yeah. But 3 feet more, if there was a boat on the end of that existing float, it would be way
Even further in there, yeah.
So I don't see it harming the navigation of the channel at that point.
Yes, Ms. Callahan.
Hi, Noreen Galen. I'd like to make a couple of comments. I looked at the Waterways charge that was approved by the select board on September 4th. And, you know, basically you guys enforce the habit management plan. You also develop it. And so according to the habit management plan in Appendix E, the docks and piers are there. And that's where, you know, in that appendix, they talk about the square footage of the floats. So I think that's something you need to consider since it's in the appendix of the habit management plan. And they only should be 200 square feet, and they should be temporary. And I don't see why we should be giving them a variance for more than 200 square feet and allowing them to be permanent. You know, because according to the management plan, which, you know, you put a lot of work into, you're enforcing it, the select board approves it, it's supposed to be 200 square feet and temporary. So I think we need to go back to that, and, you know, they're asking for 621 square feet and they want it to be permanent. Also, structures aren't supposed to be 50 feet above the property. I think they're, and that's in the habit management plan as well in that appendix. I believe they're 50 square feet to other property with this new plan, and that's an issue. Structures are supposed to be within 50 square feet. And then the other thing, if all these floats go in the basin or the cove, the Wixon dock is at the mouth of the Heron River next to the fish house, and a lot of people bring their boats in there to pick up passengers or drop off passengers, and then they go to the basin to turn around. That's how, you know, they drop the passengers off, they go to the basin, they turn around. If the floats are in the basin, it's gonna impede people's ability to turn around. You know, and when it's low tide, when the winds and the currents are a certain way, all the boats are angled like perpendicular that are moored there. And it is a navigational hazard and something that I think needs to be considered. And, you know, so I just wish you'd consider all that. And, you know, I really think it's a bad plan for this location, and I hope you consider that. Thank you.
Okay. We want to speak to the square footage. I mean, that would be
Well,
for the
I can
variance.
speak to those issues that she raised, sure. It will require variance, right? And so that's something that the Conservation Commission will consider, whether they want to grant a variance to exceed the 200 square foot limit that's in the bylaw for water dependent structures. And they're gonna look at the plan and the proposal and what this project's all about and determine whether a variance will be granted. This committee isn't we don't have the regulatory authority to do that. So that's one. Two, you know, I have a 28-foot patrol boat that went in and did my site visit and did my due diligence and saw where the markers were for these floats. I went in and out, turned around in that cove. There's plenty of room with those floats to be able to turn around, to be able to maneuver. Those floats in that cove along the bulkhead will not impede navigation as it is currently being proposed. That's just not accurate. And as far as the distance to, I think the abutter, I don't know. We'll look at that. I think we're all set with that as well. I mean, you got a lot of room from where they've made an adjustment, where their last float is going to be located, to the abutter to the south.
What about to the street and then to the neck?
Well, I think it's talking to about the abutter's property. I don't know about the street. I don't know, but so anyways, those issues I think will be considered by the Conservation Commission, and if a variance is required, then that's the determining body for that.
I mean, right now most of the boats are out of the river, so like when you pull in, recently, you know, most of the boats that were moored.
I've been there multiple times.
Yeah, okay.
I could speak to that as well. I've never once looked at that cove as an adequate spot for me to even want to turn around necessarily. I mean, been in there seating plenty of times and I've just picked other places. I know that you can go in there if you wanted to bow in, but it does get shallow quickly. I'm sure there's people that do navigate throughout there, but I don't think that this would cause any concern to that.
Yeah, we see a lot of boats turn around there when they,
Yeah, I mean, it depended on the tide. I was in at
Sure.
low tide and I ducked in and turned around and obviously didn't go way up in there because I know it's shallow, but we're not decreasing the room for you to maneuver in there if you need to, if you have the depth, so.
So, I have a question for John, and since the plan represents the narrowest point, 16 feet between the center of the channel to the edge of the last float. In what we approve, can we say that whatever wherever the pilings go, wherever the sheet metal goes for the bulkhead, that there can be, that opening can not be anything less than 16 feet. It's their obligation to figure out how to do it. In the world of navigational, that's what they're showing on their plan is 16 feet. So it doesn't get down to 15 feet, or it doesn't get down to, because of some rock that they gotta go around, some other thing that's unforeseen. Do we have the right as a community to say, you know, since we control the waterway, and that's all we're controlling is the waterway, is that whatever you do, that you cannot be any less than 16 feet. I don't care how you get there. You gotta make the last float smaller, shorter, whatever, but you can't be, because that's what you're showing us on the plan. That's what we're voting on, is 16 feet.
Just a point of clarification.
Yes?
That 16 feet is to the edge of the channel shown on the chapter 91 plans.
Okay, whatever
So
that's
it's-
representing.
So it's not a minimum passage distance, it's from the edge of the float to the edge of the channel shown on the chapter 91 plans. Then you've got your mooring circle, which pretty much blocks out the whole channel from the chapter 91 perspective. So there's probably 50 or 60 feet there that's cleared to the mooring point.
All right, I'll refer to the harbor master, because he knows.
Yeah.
Ken, I would just say that, you know, when, whatever motion we take, if we think we're going to recommend approval of this plan, whatever is built has to be in accordance with the plan.
Plan, right.
And the plan says 16 feet, so that's what they're gonna be held to. I don't think we need to specifically state anything beyond in accordance with the proposed plan.
Just by saying this, we do. But they're gonna be held to the plan.
Dan, can I just make one more comment?
Yes.
Just based on what Jay said. So we've sat here for 5 months listening to a lot of emotional concerns and pleas and not a lot of things based in fact, but more feeling. And I challenge the people to, you know, actually go look at a commercial aquaculture setup. I mean, they're in every town. There's oyster grants in Oyster Pond in the middle of Chatham. There's multiple in Lewis Bay. They're all over. If you go and look at them, they aren't these big operations with machines running and boats in and out. It's a quiet, actually real peaceful. We spent 4 hours on Sunday touring one to learn about it, so I could speak intelligently about it rather than come up with all these ideas. It's part of our community, and whether, you know, you don't like the setup of this because you can see it, you can smell it, or for whatever reason, it's not enough of a, in my opinion, reason to shoot down or be against something that is prevalent in all these towns, legally permitted and encouraged. So I would, you know, challenge you to go take a look at one, take a tour, learn about it. It's pretty awesome. And that's just my personal opinion, but you know, it's very different than what people have made it out to be from a, you know, what you think it's going to be. That's just my 2 cents. Nothing to do with anything.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. I just was wondering if they have any plans in place for the dredging process to prevent large amounts of sediment from going downriver. I live downriver and I have a really big salt marsh in front of my property that actually protects me from flooding in the winter months. You know, it keeps the high tide off. And I'm really concerned about with this dredging, with this amount of dredging, that there's gonna be large amounts of sediment and debris going downriver and could kill my salt marsh that's in front of my property. I'm a little concerned about that.
I wouldn't expect there to be any off-site impacts. They do dredging every day all over the Cape.
But the dredging material gets taken off-site,
This is
and then
gonna
you
be-
get,
Are they gonna have some kind of nets or barriers or something to contain the dredging process?
Probably not. It's either you're gonna be hydraulically dredged and dewatered, or dredged and put right into a scow, probably would be the more likely result.
So there will be large amounts of material going downriver then?
No.
Not huge amounts. No,
No.
could there be some turbidity, in honesty? Yeah, there could be a little turbidity.
There
but
always
that's it.
is in any dredging process, but that'll clear, but I wouldn't see that there'd be any large deposits.
I mean,
Any
would
more
it
so
kill,
than
would it
anything.
kill salt marsh downriver?
Absolutely not. I wouldn't say it would.
Far, far less than a coastal storm.
Yeah.
that
Yeah, I
answer
mean,
your
I don't know
question?
what the dredge plan is yet. What's your yardage?
It's about 250.
250, so, you know, when somebody puts a private dock in, a lot of times they dredge, and they're dredging, they try to keep it at a 100 cubic yard limit, otherwise you have to go get a little bit further in permitting to go beyond that. And most of it's bucket dredge, very controlled, you know, you take an area out, they usually put it in a scow or you know, upland on land in a truck kind of thing, but I don't expect there to be a whole lot of material going down river or coming anywhere close to affecting salt marsh. It's not a big volume, even 250 cubic yards is not a huge volume.
And a lot of it is the clean sand that is behind the existing seawall that gets put back behind the new seawall.
Pending
to
if it can
fill it.
even be moved anyway, you know.
What's that?
I said pending if it can even be moved anyway, because we're not even at that point yet,
Yep.
you know, that's why we have to get through this to get to that, so.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a couple of comments, and they might be general, but I think they still have to do with
Sure.
project. Jeff Lang and his business partners are the only ones to benefit from the commercial scallop operation at 11 River Bend. Herring River, the neighbors, Nantucket Sound, the town of Harwich do not benefit. The 9 floating rafts are oversized and in the area that is narrower in the path of boats entering and leaving Nantucket Sound. Recreation, which is an important activity in Harwich or any Cape town, is affected by the scallop business at the entrance and exit from Nantucket Sound. So many Cape residents say they grew up fishing off the jetty in West Harwich. We hope that that will continue. And I look down on that property from my house at 21 Riverside Drive, 29 Harbor Way. So I look down on that and you know, I really enjoyed looking across at the windmill house and all of that. And you know, we've been in the area, we've been in West Harwich 45 years, I think, and we've seen a lot of great things happening, great things, you know. A lot of people who are, you know, just involved in many activities, you know, including activities on the river.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hi, Eric Rigo here. Nobody ever, it's all, this is a lot of emotion here. As we all know, anybody that's spent any amount of time on Cape Cod, we've lost most of our wild bay scallops. This guy wants to bring, what'd you say, 100,000 of them? That'll help water quality, they'll spat, Might take 10 years, might take 20 years. Eventually you'll have more base house and it'll help the water quality, which is what I think we all really want. We want our water health good. We want our waterways healthy. That's good for all of us. More shellfish, better. I just hear a lot of emotion on, oh, it's gonna ruin the view, it's gonna impact this. Yeah, all these people are saying these are professional boat operators and they're having, no, but it keeps arising that it's ugly and it's a navigational hazard. There's a better ecological point behind it though. He's gonna be helping the water is what I'm basically what I'm getting at.
Thank you. Well, I mean, we're at a point where we've heard from the harbor master. There's no, on this plan, there's no major issues for navigation. There isn't navigation wise. There isn't much concern for moving the floats into the cove. I think we're at a point to make a motion.
Is it possible to add a comment?
And you are?
Dorothy Hayes.
Go ahead.
Would be okay to speak, or?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, I was going to say, I know the primary concern is navigation, but under chapter 91, another important aspect of it is free passage over through the water, and that includes swimming, and this area is recreational. Drive down Lower County Road and you have the young kids diving into the water from the bridge, and so you have a lot of recreational activity there. When you're permitting docks, generally you require passage under them or around them to preserve the public right to the tideland, which is what we have here. This particular project is lateral. It literally wraps around the coast, the land next to the river, and unlike a dock which is perpendicular, it doesn't have that mass in terms of access, non-access. This will, and having had a boat there some years ago and being told by the previous harbor master there's a very strong current in the Herring River. I can tell you from personal experience, he was absolutely right. And you do have swimming there. If people are caught up and want to get to calmer waters, the water at river's edge would be a calmer area to move out of that kind of danger. And so when you have something like this wrapping at this point a good amount of that coastline, it's something to consider in terms of public safety and interfering with for the right of free movement through the water. And so I would ask that some consideration be given to that.
I could follow up on that quickly. Hannah Raditz, wetland scientist with BSC. And when it comes to public safety, there is a benefit to this project beyond the floats, which are adding the scallops into the system, which are going to be filtering the water. But the current bulkhead is failing. It's a structure that's not safe for anyone to come up against in a vessel or swimming. And once this wall is replaced, it'll be a far sturdier structure. And so if someone was swimming in this area, they did come up against the floats or up against the bulkhead, they would have something sturdier to hold on to, not something that's falling apart, which is leading to the erosion behind the salt marsh. So in terms of public safety, I don't believe that this proposal is reducing access for swimmers, boaters, or any of the like. In fact, the improvement of this structure through the replacement is going to be an overall benefit for the waterway.
Well, actually, the area that these floats would be taking up is public tidelands, and the public has a right to fish, fowl, navigate, and that they're being displaced from that by this occupation of these floats. And as far as the bulkhead goes, you certainly could replace the bulkhead for public safety concerns. You don't have to engage in agriculture in order to replace the bulkhead. So I think those are two different considerations.
Okay.
But thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to make a comment, please.
And you are?
I'm calling in from London. This is Nat Damon. I want to make a real distinction here between a commercial landing and the current bulkhead. The current bulkhead it's one thing to hang on to it when you're swimming, knowing that there's nothing underneath it. There's no scallops being raised and there's no commercial trafficking going on there. Versus when you're grabbing something to hang on to when the tide comes in or out at a rapid speed. It is absolutely a recreational area. And the fact that it's going to be more sturdy, it's going to be more sturdy as a commercial vehicle. That's the difference. It's not about, oh, it's falling apart and dilapidated and it's going to be repaired. It's going to be repaired as a commercial landing. We need to consider this, and it does get narrow at low tide. When boats are coming in and they're swinging around to get to their mooring, to face the wind and to face against the tide coming in, you need width of the river. And there are moorings and boat moorings all the way up through the area that's being considered tonight. It's not 110 feet of open space. It's like 15-20% of that. So please consider that.
Okay, thank you. I mean, those are considerations.
I just have two quick things to point out.
Yep.
So, I know you mentioned back here that nobody is to benefit other than the business partners. A little bit of the history of what they do, and I know that they've spoken to it briefly in some of the past meetings, is partnerships with other towns, specifically Town of Yarmouth, other things like that. So in some ways, it is to gain for what we have for our shellfish aquaculture growth opportunities under my department, and being the shellfish constable, we are bare bones. We have barely an operable lab. We rely on folks to volunteer, and our seed is minimal for what we're able to produce. So there are benefits to that. And I know in here, and even in the key elements that was posted in this PowerPoint, it says to donate scallop seeding around town. I have not yet seen a specific article in correlation to that or to a type of plan that we would be able to work out between my department and them. But I hope that we are able to come to some type of agreement. And of course, that's after we get to those steps. We're at step one so far.
It just doesn't seem like the right place. There are commercial areas, and probably in Yarmouth and Brewster and Chatham.
Right.
Maybe they're in more commercial areas.
So
this is not a commercial area.
So as you think of commercial, I know aquaculture, I know aquaculture farms like this. This is fairly commercial. This is commercial in the aspect of how it may be accessed on a minimal basis, but our upweller system that's in Witchmere has a more commercial approach to it with pumps. And the way we actually suck water out of the harbor and flow through it, and we put your positive nutrients after the filtration process back into Witchmere. So we have noise, we have ARC lab that's downriver from there that has pumps. There are more commercial operations than what is proposed.
We actually have that in the herring as well.
Say it again?
We actually have that in the herring as well.
In the herring. Oh, yes, yeah, exactly, right, exactly, so.
And to suggest, I think that Mary Lou's comment about this is a recreational area, it's not the Bass River or some of these other scallop floats are out there where you've got a great expanse of water, it's easier to move around, it's not visually impairing someone's tranquil setting.
All right, so
it's a recreation, it's a swimming area, kayaking area, paddleboard area, and it's a boating.
Yeah, and I would encourage you to look at some of their operations that are in Yarmouth, because I know one location that is below, what's considered the Bass River Bridge, Route 28, on the south side of it.
It's a much bigger expanse of water.
And right in the area that it is in a public, it is still a public waterway, and it's something to consider. And the amount of kayaks that come throughout that area is way more significant than what we have in Herring River. And I'm an avid kayaker of Herring River myself, so I understand that. I think, emotions aside, this is a very, very minimal commercial is even a far stretch to say in some aspects of the physical attributes of what they have in their plan.
Respected what you and the other gentleman had to say. You're not living there.
I
But you can comment like you did. I get it, but I really do respect it. But,
yeah, I think, yeah, I would love to
Okay.
live there.
All right. One last, yes.
One last comment. I know we've talked about this in the past. He wants to make it a more commercial than what this currently is proposing. Once he gets approval,
We
it's
can't,
gonna be
that's not what's in front of us.
I realize that.
Yeah,
I mean, speak to the harbor master and the natural resources person. Sorry, forget your name. You know, he spoke to you about the plan, and it is a multi-phase plan. So he just wants to put out there, you know, he wants to make it more.
And of course,
with that going forward, he's suggesting what you're going to do today is not going to impact what goes forward. It's kind of being short-sighted, so.
Well, yeah, this is barely, this is even, yeah, this is the process for what is gonna happen. So if he needs to expand, right now, there's no room for expansion. So how phase 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I mean, there's, yeah, we can't, I mean, I wish I had a crystal ball. If I had a crystal ball, that'd be great, but we
For that
don't.
reason alone, maybe you should. You don't know what's going to happen.
I mean, we don't, yeah, that's just not.
All emotion.
Or make plans.
We're putting this place to make a
This is
decision
the
here.
plan this is the plan that's in front of us, and this is what we have to, this is what we
I'm
need
gonna
to
make
judge
a
on.
motion
Yes.
that we accept the plan as shown on this date and number. I gotta get to it here. Help me out here, where's the plan number? Okay.
Job number
100684.00. As submitted, the plan was submitted on 10/7/24, stamped. And
That's for the May 30th plan.
well, that's the May 30th plan, but then it's in the
Revised.
And the
Yeah.
revision number is 10/7/24. Revision number 4.
Is that accurate?
I'll second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed, abstentions? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Now we need, and now we need, 2 plans signed, correct?
Yes. You got your, okay.
I got,
That was close. Yeah, close that, Dan.
He's faster than a speed. Did you see that?
yeah.
I did see that.
Start signing. Signing date. Where's the 16th?
Need the plan for conservation?
We'll get it to.
Yeah, we'll get it to him.
We'll get it to Amy.
I'll keep going on.
Thank you.
We were in Lewis Bay flipping oyster traps. They were 32, 34-inch stripers swimming around.
Oh,
yes.
I traveled miles to go find them, and they're sitting right there. You can catch one on
I didn't sign that first one.
Yeah.
Second. We got some more plans to come around here to sign, didn't we?
Yeah, we're doing
Yep.
that right now.
It's disgusting.
It's one of the best environmental
Price of product.
I'm so tired of this diamond thing.
Yeah, the guy there's a town employee that monitors this while we're doing it.
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
Okay, because they would have, as the monitor or the controller, they should have a box to be able to view that.
I would think so.
Yeah, mute all.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you.
But that's another topic.
Right. Everybody sign both?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
thank you.
did twice, I told some guys, I know it was him, about hockey.
No, we still got a little more work to do, so
Oh,
let's.
okay, I'm sorry. Yeah. Let me clarify what I told you last time. All right. It changed.
All right, so no more old business. We can move on to monthly reports.
You guys got my report?
Board of Selectmen, okay, Natural Resource Officer.
We'll share.
Okay. So as I always say, it's been a busy month. So the biggest thing right there on the top is we hosted all the fifth graders in our shellfish lab from Monomoy. We had the pleasure of having a different but another fifth grade science teacher from Monomoy as a seasonal staff member in our lab. So she brought incredible amount of effort, had the best planning when it came to our hosting of these fifth graders for this year, and we got the recognition from the principal that it was the best year yet, so that was great.
Great.
Talked a lot about what we physically do in the lab, daily operations, but more importantly, why we do it, nitrogen attenuation, etc. To the numbers of what we've been growing, to the averages, to some new testing practices that we've implemented recently. So it was a huge success. We did surveys of shell fishing in Witchmere on the north end, up by the flagpole, that stretch, and on the east end, which is just outside of our lab. Also in areas like Pleasant Bay, and we did that to assess on areas of where we need more seed for when our seed starts going out. Started by putting 100,000 oysters out in Witchmere so far. These were the largest oysters we've ever grown in the lab history, and it just happened to work out really well, averaging 30 to 35 millimeters. So hopefully in about a year we'll have a total of 120,000 going out in Witchmere specifically. I have plans for the future of trying to hold some back and possibly overwinter some and move some to Pleasant Bay and some other areas, but it's up in the air. So for now, they're all going into Witchmere as planned. We had a Division Marine Fishery rainfall closure in September for a significant amount of rainfall, so we had to swap all our signs out, close areas, make sure commercial recreation harvests were not happening. Our water testing has been wrapped up for the season, pulled the float out of Pleasant Bay, and a marker that we have that was significantly faded and potentially a hazard of navigation there because you really could not make out what it was at all. Chain was really thin, hasn't been pulled in a little while, so got that out of there and we'll reinstall in the spring. Herring runs, we cleared the east end of Hinckley's Pond. A lot of herring, juvenile herring have been pushing out a long pond. Saw a significant wave a little bit early on in that area, so just went ahead and cleaned the brook again just to make sure there was no additional passage issues. And besides that, that's really about it.
All right, from John, sorry, I skipped you there, John,
No,
sorry
no
about
worries.
that.
You guys have mine. I mean, it's more the same. You know, that rain event that Don spoke about brought us some little extra work. Yeah, I mean, it was kind of unexpected. We weren't real prepared for it. I don't think anybody was. And we had a few boats take on water and sink up mostly over in Pleasant Bay. got beat up pretty good, but, you know, besides that, things are starting to slow down, which is nice, you know. Our seasonal, employees will finish into the month, and then it'll be just bare bones, you know, our department, and boats are starting to haul, but still got a marina pretty full of boats, so, winter termers are starting to come in, the commercial fleet. First couple arrived today, and they'll start coming in for the winter. And we got a number of recreational boats staying for the winter as well, but, no, all is good. I know this, last project that we just reviewed was lengthy and a lot of information, a lot of stuff, and I appreciate everybody's attention to it, and I think, you know, we came to the right decision, so appreciate your work on that.
Was John Shory's comment about the excessive birds this year, have you noticed it? Did you get comments from?
Yeah, there's been a lot of comments about it, you know, I think we'll certainly look at it, you know, this is first year that it's been significant since I've been here. I don't know, you know, whether I don't think we redo the whole marina just because one year we had a lot of birds. I think we need to really look at it, and
it goes in cycles, doesn't it? I remember
it goes in
25
cycles,
years ago we had
exactly, you know, so I just, you know, we'll look at it. I know there's a lot of angst out there, especially people who are right up against a sailboat, and I get it, but we need to.
It is what it is.
Maybe just to educate.
Yeah,
You know,
maybe.
I think that's what he was trying to do. He's
Yeah.
talked to me a few times down the marina.
Yeah.
I think he was trying to get the word out to educate people, maybe.
If they have their masks down, they can put little spinies up.
Maybe call it a pamphlet.
I get that, you know, so, all right. No correspondence. We can just chat about that later. Next meeting, November 20th. Make a motion to adjourn.
You go ahead.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Out of here.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Adjourn at 7:32.
Good project.
Stop recording?
In the wraps.
Yeah.
We did. We spent a half a day. Just like it was cool.
Where
It's
were
like
you doing?
literally there.